Welcome back to the Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill, but if you're new here, I love talking all things reality TV, and today we are here for my second installment of What I Watched in a Month, where I look back at the previous month and all the different reality TV shows I watched during it. First, we have to start with some business about last month's video. After some careful consideration, I did decide to take out of my watched list the show The Dark Side of Reality TV. After thinking about it a lot, like I said, it's not a reality show, and I just feel like it doesn't fit in the spirit of what I'm doing here, so I have taken it out. So January stats have now changed to 21 shows, 121 episodes, and 5,094 minutes of TV watched. I just wanted to give that little update for my own personal record keeping, and for anybody who's curious, because at some point I'll have totals, and the totals won't add up if you use the old January stuff. So just to keep us all accountable and in the same page, I wanted to give you that. Moving on to February. In February, I watched 20 shows, 118 episodes of TV, for a grand total of 5,906 minutes. I think it's really funny that the shows and episodes were a little less than January. I was assuming they would be, just losing a couple days since February is so short, but hilarious that the minutes were longer. I guess I was overall watching longer shows this month. I don't know, it might have to do with Love is Blind. We'll get there. My most watched show for February was Wags LA with 28 episodes. I watched all the seasons of it. I'll talk about it more when we get to it in a minute. My least watched shows, once again, were because their seasons were ending. It was Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and 90 Day Before the 90 Days. They both had one episode in February because it was their season finale. First, I'm going to roll through the list of shows that were already talked about in January and that I don't really have anything to add since that last video. So if you want to hear more about those shows, go to January. I will warn you, some of these I also really didn't talk about in January, but I link you to my 2024 year-end review where I talked about those shows. So you might have to hop, skip, and a jump if you really want to hear about it. But anyway, we're going to start off with Shark Tank Season 16. Obviously, if you've seen my channel before, I am always talking about Shark Tank. I will link the playlist for the current season up above. But yes, I am watching Shark Tank Season 16, along with Wildcard Kitchen Season 2, Kitchen Nightmares, The Reboot Season 2, Hell's Kitchen Season 23, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 5, Real Housewives of Potomac Season 9, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 14, Married to Medicine Season 11, 90 Day Fiancé Last Resort Season 2, and 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days Season 7. I already kind of touched on those shows either in my 2024 review or in January, so definitely feel free to check those out. With that, I do have a few shows that I did touch on in the January review, but that I want to talk about either more or again, starting off with Deal or No Deal Island Season 2. Truly, if you aren't watching Deal or No Deal Island, I just want to know why. I want to know why. Is it because you can't? Because you're not interested? Because I am imploring, I'm begging you, go check it out. It is such a fun show. I really, really enjoy it every week. I'm always looking forward to watching it. I was skeptical that they would continue to have success after season 1. I just wasn't quite sure how it was going to go, but I was totally wrong. And I, for one, think this is a game that's here to stay for a while. I love it. The incentive I can give you if you need a little incentive, if you're a Big Brother fan, Dr. Will's on it. If you are a Survivor or a Traitors fan, Parvati is on it. And if you are a Survivor Australia fan, the Golden God himself, David, is on it. And watching all three of them play together, wild. So fun. I am begging you, go watch it. Just such a good time. That's all I can say. I just feel like not enough people watch this show. I feel like so few people in my life watch this show. Even among my internet friends who talk about reality TV, I feel like I'm alone on a Deal or No Deal Island. And I need more friends to come along, because right now I have like my partner and my parents. And that's about it. I need some more people. Not that that's not enough for me, but you know. Moving on with that same kind of thread, The Traitors Season 3. I did talk about it quite a bit last episode, but oh my gosh, this season has been an absolute roller coaster. Okay, let me just take a minute. I understand, and I hear complaints about Danielle. I get it. I've had my own complaints about Danielle, but I just personally think that it's gotten to a point that's like weirdly obsessive. The way people are like hating her. And I just feel like people need to cool down a little. Cool down a little. People are calling her the worst traitor ever. Hello? Do we remember Dan from season 2? Like, how quickly we forget. Because truly, almost objectively, the worst traitor of all time. I'm just saying. And see, here was my thing with Danielle. My real and only issue with her was what happened with her and Carolyn in the beginning. When Danielle decided she needed to take out Carolyn to get Boston Rob. That was what made me upset with her. But I don't feel like you can be upset with Danielle about that and not also be upset with Carolyn about that, because Carolyn continued it going. While Danielle did, yes, make that what I would call like a little bit of a blunder, Carolyn would never let it go. And I like get it, but I truly don't. Like there was the whole issue with her thinking Danielle brought her name up again when it didn't happen. And I don't know how Carolyn couldn't realize that that was still the same situation, considering it was like the talking about Brittany thing. And Carolyn's inability to let it go and decide to just work with Danielle ended up being her big downfall and why she got kicked off, in my personal opinion. I just feel like she underestimated Danielle and she was just not... I just don't think Carolyn was really in it. I'm sorry. Even from some of her exit interviews I watched, I was listening to her talk about how if she had stayed instead of Danielle, she like didn't really have a strategy. She just wanted to have fun. Like, I'm sorry. That made me so angry. This is a strategy show. You are from Survivor. You are a game player. Gameplay! I don't know. I've had a lot of frustration, a lot of mixed feelings, but what I can truly and deeply say is what I root for when I watch TV is good TV. Yes, I root for certain people, but at the end of the day, all I want is good TV, and the Traitors have been giving us excellent TV. Truly, episode 9 should be framed in a hall of fame somewhere. It was such a good episode of TV. I was on the edge of my seat every moment. I can't talk about it enough. Currently, while I'm filming this, it's the day before the finale. When this goes out, the finale will have aired. Future Morgan, I'm so excited for you to be able to see that. And last for shows that got touched on in January, but this one I did not get to talk about at all because it only had one episode in January, and that is The Bachelor Season 29. The Party Girl season. I'm sorry, I absolutely can't. If you don't keep up with Bachelor at all and you have no idea what I'm talking about, The Bachelor Grant Ellis released a song called Party Girls, like the day of the premiere or something like that. I don't know. I walk around my house singing it all the time at this point, though. It makes me giggle. It's actually not really a bad song. It's just the context of everything that makes me laugh so much for some reason. Nights like this don't come around too often. Moving on. Hometowns just finished up. We have Women Tell All coming up. Overall, this season has had kind of weird vibes. I think part of it is because it is shorter than some of the other seasons, making it feel kind of weird. I don't know, there's just, the vibes have been slightly off, and I can't even quite put my finger on what it is, and I think I'm mostly just blaming it on how short the season is. I'm sorry, we have to take a timeout. I went to go look at my old video to see who the girls were that I mentioned from The Bachelor, because I couldn't quite remember the list I gave, and I deleted it from my phone for some reason, and y'all, tell me how I'm wearing the exact same outfit from last month. I usually check. I usually look through my videos to see what I've worn recently. And I did, sorta. I just looked at the last, 2 videos. Y'all. Anyway, so from my list of 4 standouts that I had from night 1, we only have Latia still with us. And honestly, I think she's gonna be top 2. She might take it. I'm not sure. I keep going back between her and Juliana. They're my top two runners, whatever you want to call them. I go back and forth all the time. I'm really not sure because honestly, there's like fundamental differences between the two of them, and that comes down to more like what Grant wants. And another thing that's kind of made the show feel off is I don't feel like we've gotten to know a lot of Grant. I don't feel like we got him a lot in his Bachelorette in Jen's season. And then I don't feel like we've gotten really personal with him a lot. We've gotten moments, but we've also gotten kind of the same stories, which I'm not blaming Grant for. Like, obviously, you're gonna tell the same stories about your life to different women, but I feel in my heart of hearts he's talked about more than the lone wolf and the basketball thing. I feel in my heart that he has and that the editors aren't giving it to us, and I need some more. I feel like I don't feel like we've gotten enough of him from the editors. I just don't feel like we've gotten to really know him in the way we've gotten to know people like Joey on Joey's season. I don't know. It's just the vibes are off. Maybe it's because Bachelorette isn't coming back this year. I don't know. I, for one, though, am still having a lot of fun watching it. With all the characters we've met in the past couple seasons, I am super pumped for Paradise. Even as somebody who skipped the last season, I'm hoping the break they took made them grow and learn and reflect and make that end of the franchise better. Because honestly and deeply, I was so frustrated with it. That's part of why I stopped watching it. Because the audio on that show is horrible. The last couple years watching it, all you hear are like waves crashing, and I get it. They're on a beach. But figure it out? That's your job? I've said this before, I streamed The Bachelor on TikTok, and I was trying to stream Paradise one season. I think it was the season before last season, and truly every other comment in the stream was people begging me to turn it up because they couldn't hear it. And I kept having to explain that the TV was as loud as it could go. I also couldn't hear it. I, sitting in front of a TV that's like at 100 volume, was sitting there having to read subtitles, the captions, because no idea what these people are saying. Ever. It was so frustrating, and that's why I didn't watch the next season, because I didn't want to sit there like, huh? Truly, I hope they've got some stuff figured out, worked out some of the kinks, also made it less like, I like camp. I love camp. I talked about it with House of Villains, but Bachelor in Paradise was just getting too, I don't know, just too much overall. Just felt weird, fake, I don't know. And also just extra more than the other shows, felt like they were torturing people. Like, the beach didn't seem like a fun place to go anymore. It seemed like where you're sent if you did something wrong. I should move on. Bachelor in Paradise hasn't happened yet. We'll get to that when we get to that. Let's move on to shows that I just started in February. Brand new, hot off the presses. We're going to start off strong with a set of shows, one of which is the show that I had the most watch time with, and that's the WAGS series, as I like to call it, from E! Network. This is WAGS Atlanta, WAGS Miami, and WAGS LA. I watched all three of those shows in that order. If you're going to watch them, I would recommend flipping that order because I picked based off vibes. I picked Atlanta first because Atlanta always comes out with good shows. Real Housewives of Atlanta, Married to Medicine, need I say more? So I picked Atlanta first, figuring out that it's kind of last in the series. Hear me. WAGS LA came out first, and it ran for 3 seasons. Miami came out second, ran for 2 seasons. Atlanta came out last and only ran for 1 season. And within those years, like, it worked out that way, if that makes sense. Like, WAGS LA's 3rd season was when WAGS Atlanta had their 1st season. And they all slightly, just barely tie together every now and then. It'll be like, oh, like my random friend from wherever. And so if you watch them in the right order, it helps with that. I just picked off vibes and accidentally went completely backwards. So I'm so sorry. let me back up and explain the show a little bit. I kind of brushed over it, like, y'all should just know. And maybe you do, maybe you immediately are able to put together this concept. But for those of us who maybe didn't know about WAGs until recently, it's wives and girlfriends of athletes, of superstars, of athletes. That's what that term means. And so that's what the show is. It's wives and girlfriends of these different athletes in all these different sports, and their lives being those kind of people, living that life with your athlete husband. Kind of like a Real Housewives show, but dedicated to people married to sports stars. If you watched my January recap, you know I watched Wags to Riches, and that's what led me down this rabbit hole. I found that Second Wives Club show on Peacock, and then it recommended these Wags shows to me, and y'all, was glued to the TV. Number one, these shows ran from 2016 to 2018-ish, so just a good little time capsule, even though it doesn't seem like that long ago. I mean, next year, that 2016 season is going to be 10 years ago. I had that realization earlier today. Wild to think about. But all the makeup, like, all of them are, like, 2016 Instagram baddies. Not all of them, but multiple, especially in the LA season. I highly recommend it. It's really fun. I, again, recommend going the right way, though. LA, Miami, Atlanta. There's just enough little things that tie together that make it worth it, in my opinion, to not sit there like... Because sometimes, too, in the Atlanta one, we got to meet a couple of the girls from LA, specifically, and they were acting kind of like we should know these girls and know slightly the story. Not completely, they did explain it, but part of me was sitting there like, I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I should know something that I don't know. And now I know, since I watched the other shows. But if you have Peacock and you're into, like, the Real Housewife franchise, definitely recommend. I will say, though, Atlanta was my favorite of all of them. Sorry, not sorry. That one was my favorite of all the ones I watched. I was so sad it was the one with only one season, because that was my favorite. Sorry. I think part of the reason I liked Atlanta the most was, if I'm remembering everything correctly, which I'm pretty sure I am, all of the girls were actually wives, fiancés, and girlfriends. And no offense to the single girls on the other franchises, but me personally, when I sign up to watch a show called Wags, I want to see Wags. And I get it, some of those girls had dated athletes, blah, 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 but that's why I liked Atlanta. I liked seeing the houses. That's what I'm more looking for. I'm looking for those kind of relationships. I'm not really looking for single girls dating. Caveat that with, though, I would watch a show of single girls who are trying to date athletes. I don't know what the name of that show would be. I learned the term Jersey Chasers during my WAGs exploration. Maybe that'd be a fun title, even though I get that it's kind of mean. But it did take me out of it a little bit when I'm watching the single girls. I'd much rather see the actual, like, mothers of babies of athletes, if that makes sense, girlfriends, wives, fiancés. That's what I signed up for. And again, no offense to the single girls, because they were giving a lot of the show. Like, they were carrying it on their backs sometimes, but that also was a problem, in my opinion. Moving on. I thought about talking about this show last, but I think we should just rip the Band-Aid off. Love is Blind, Season 8, Minneapolis. I don't know. This season has just been so boring. This is the first time I've had to, like, force myself to watch Love is Blind. Like, even on some other seasons that people have deemed, like, boring or whatever, I was never at the point where I was like, I do want to watch this because I want to see, like, 3 minutes of each episode. Like, literally, I put off watching some of the episodes because I was just like, if it gets spoiled on TikTok, it gets spoiled on TikTok. I don't know anymore. I might forget, honestly, because if it's about one of the men, I can't keep them straight. I have just kind of figured it out. This week is the finale of Love is Blind. I am just now getting it. Truly and deeply, there's 5 men that all kind of look the same, if you're unfamiliar with this season of Love is Blind. There's 5 men that all look the same, and when I was watching the pod episodes, which they gave us 6 of, 6 episodes in the pods, a crime, criminal. But During the 5th episode is when I found out some of them were different. Because I was literally watching one of them. I still don't even exactly know who, because I was struggling so hard with who was who. But I was listening to this man talk, and I was like, I thought he was already engaged. I didn't think that him and this girl even had a thing. And then I realized it was a completely separate man that I did not even register was there. So I feel like that says enough about this season. Like, what? And then going back to the pods thing, to give us 6 episodes in the pods, and then, like, what was it? 3-ish or whatever, doing the honeymoon stuff? Diabolical. I have heard and assume part of it is because of the couple that they erased. If you haven't heard this, there was a couple that did get to the engagement, maybe even the altar. Maybe not that far. I don't remember quite exactly. But that they erased. This isn't the first time Love is Blind has done it, but that might be part of why we didn't get a lot of, like, group stuff with the honeymoon, because it was harder to disappear them. I don't know. But I, for one, am not a big fan of the pod part of the episodes. It just goes on, in my personal opinion. So to give us 6, that's the most they've ever done. Like, just, that's a fact. That's not me exaggerating. That is the most they've ever done. And it feels like so little was talked about at the same time. Like, and we focused so much on couples that we're never going to really get to see again. I mean, we got to see them briefly when they do the whole cast meet up at, like, a bar or whatever. But I don't know. I'm really not about this season. I am excited that it's ending this week, because I do want to know, who's going to the altar, all that. But I don't know, man. I really hope next season's better. I don't know what next season the city is. I assume it's been announced because the way they film these things. But that's how little I've been invested. I'm not even thinking about next season. I just kind of want this season to end. Continuing on the Netflix theme, I also checked out The Ultimatum South Africa in February. This show actually came out in May of 2024. But I found it because of watching Love Never Lies. It kind of took me down this rabbit hole of looking for the shows I already like, but the different countries' versions of them. And y'all, The Ultimatum South Africa, so good. So good. 10 out of 10, recommend. If you love The Ultimatum, the South African version was so good. The drama. I loved every single minute of it. If you've never seen The Ultimatum, why? No, I'm just kidding. But if you haven't seen The Ultimatum, pretty much what it is it is different couples who are at that point where one of the partners is ready to get engaged and the other isn't. And so they come to the show with ultimatum of marry or move on. During the first couple weeks, 2 weeks, or a week, whatever it is, of the experiment, like Netflix loves to do. These are the same producers of Love is Blind. So, that's where we are. During the first week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, the couples pair off individually with somebody else from one of the other couples in a trial marriage. Yeah. And then after that, they go back to their original partners and have a trial marriage with their original partners. And by the end of it, hopefully they can decide if they want to get engaged or not. That's the long and short of The Ultimatum. I feel like most people, if you watch my channel, you will have seen The Ultimatum. But just in case, that's what it is. And if you're going to start with something, if you haven't seen it, I recommend starting with South Africa or the queer one. Either way. Those are my 2 recommendations if you're going to start it. Because some of the Ultimatum America last couple seasons have been meh. Continuing with the theme of love and relationships, 90 Day Fiancé came back for their season 11. They've only had 2 episodes come out so far, so that'll get talked about probably next month. I don't have a whole lot to say yet for 90 Day Fiancé. I do like that we're getting some of the couples from 90 Day before the 90 days, getting to see them come back, and we're also having one from, I think they were from 90 Day Fiancé Love in Paradise, maybe? I don't know. I do like seeing couples come back from some of those side shows, and then also the new couples. We also have a throuple this season, which will be interesting. It's not the first time, but will be interesting. Talk about it next month. Put a pin in that one, okay, guys? And last but not least in my heart, Below Deck Down Under has come back for season 3. I also don't have a whole lot to say on this one yet. We're still kinda new into everything. Not too new, though. But It's a good season so far. The main thing I have to say is I hated the sous chef guy. I was gonna lose my mind. A sous chef got hired for this season of Below Deck. Also, this boat that they're on for Below Deck Down Under season 3 is massive. If y'all aren't watching it, I would just recommend at least going to watch episode 1 and looking about how big this boat is. There's an elevator in the boat. There's an elevator. They have to take the elevator to deliver food from the kitchen. It seems like an absolute nightmare, logistically. But because everything's so big, and because of the chef who we've had on before, who sometimes, she has her struggles, but, you know, I'm not going to talk about her too much. He being Captain Jason, decided he would hire a sous chef. And this kid, I don't know. I get maybe he didn't like working with Tezrina. I always say her name wrong. I'm so sorry to her if I'm saying her name wrong. But I get that he doesn't like working with her. Whatever. You have different working styles with people. But the arrogance off of him, I hate it. And I loved her when at one point she's in one of her interview moments being like, if you don't want a sous chef job, go get a head chef job. Like, if you want to be a head chef, go do that. Which, to his credit, he did end up, like, texting to get off the boat to get a different job, which was kind of shady, but whatever, good riddance. And he did go get that head chef job. But if you don't want to be a sous chef, don't take a sous chef job. End of story. Like, that's where that should have began and ended, in my personal opinion. And that is a wrap on all the different shows I watched this February 2025. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. It truly and deeply means a lot to me. I'm having a lot of fun doing this little monthly series. Like I said in that other video for January, I'm doing this so I can keep up with my shows, so I can actually have a good, comprehensive list at the end of the year. But this has been such a fun way to do it, so thank you for joining me on this. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it down below. If you like reality TV, Shark Tank recaps, Shark Tank product reviews, any and all of that, check out the channel and subscribe because it's a good time over here. I'm also trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you want to help me with that, I would greatly appreciate it. As always, I want to hear your thoughts, feelings, opinions, comments, all that and more down below, especially about the formatting of these videos. If you have any opinions on it, I would love to hear that. How much do we feel like I should explain some of these shows? I feel like I should explain them if they're older shows like WAGs, where maybe people don't even know what the show is, but things like Below Deck, The Ultimatum, do I need to be explaining those, or do we think I should just go off hoping people know what the show is? That's something I have been wondering, and I would greatly appreciate any thoughts, feelings, opinions on that. And with all of that said, I'll see y'all in the next one, where hopefully I won't be wearing this same outfit. Or should I just keep wearing it for the bit? Should I just wear this every month? No, I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, bye!